How many of us deal with frustration on a day-to-day basis? I would believe that everybody deals with some level of frustration, especially people that are in relationships, in the workplace, and more importantly, inside their faith. And I know for a fact that many men deal with frustration and they keep it all bottled in, they keep it all sealed up, and they don't know how to deal. And then that type of frustration ends up coming out in such a way that it causes a detriment to possibly a relationship, their workplace, and even their faith. My name is Kenneth Allen Thomas here. We on Unshakable Conversations today. My man Matt in the back and everything. We got another Unshakable Conversation coming up. We're dealing with frustration. I said that all wrong. Frustration. We're dealing with it today, everybody. But before we go ahead and get into it, listen, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff and everything, because guess what? It does help the channel, helps us go to another level. All right, so if you're ready for it, let's get into it. We're dealing with frustration, y'all. And for myself, being a man who's married, 5 children, I've dealt with, businessmen, all that stuff. I've dealt with an enormous amount of frustration in my life, but I've learned how to share that frustration in a healthy way. I think that a lot of us don't understand necessarily how to focus on sharing our frustration in a healthy way, because oftentimes when we finally get frustrated or fed up, it's too late, because there's piles and piles and piles of other frustrations from the past that we never dealt with in the first place, right? So what are some ways, what are some practical tools, what are some things that we can do to actually help us deal with those particular frustrations, whether it be in your relationships, whether it be at the workplace, whether particularly being inside your faith. So let's deal with it one by one, okay? Let's talk about the relationship aspect. Let's talk about those who are married or those that just may be in a relationship, period. What are some of the things that happens inside your relationship that frustrates you the most? It could be something as leaving somebody's socks on the floor or something like that. Maybe it's you not cleaning up after yourself. Maybe it's not taking the dog out, or whatever the case may be, right? Certain things frustrate certain people. So what I would say is number one is, okay, if you know that your partner, your spouse, it gets frustrated over certain things, right? Inside the home, inside the relationship, we have to have a certain level of empathy for the individual. Understand on how to put yourself in a different position, or put yourself in that person's position to see how they feel. Because now we're talking about consideration at this point, right? Are we considering somebody else's feelings? Are we considering what somebody else is really going through, and how to alleviate the frustration so it actually builds peace inside the home and doesn't cause any more friction on top of it, right? Because over and over again, I know in my life, I've had, many times where I've been frustrated. Here's the one thing that frustrates me the most, Matt. Check this out. The one thing that frustrates me the most, and this has frustrated me for years, is when people don't like something that I did, but they don't tell me that I did something wrong, and then they smile in my face and they keep going like, ain't nothing wrong, like I didn't do something to you that you didn't like. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just going along or whatever, and I'm saying like, all right, yeah, we cool, everything's great, everything Gucci or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But on the back end, you mad at me for something that I did that I had no recollection or knowledge of actually doing, and you didn't bring it to my attention, right? So I'm not a person that is somebody that's going to be like, I'm perfect. If I did something wrong, tell me that I did something wrong. But don't sit there and be in my face 2 months, 3 months, 4 months later, like I didn't do something wrong to you or whatever. Or if I keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then you subliminally are telling me that I did something wrong, but you're not directly telling me that you did something wrong. You know what I'm saying? So Matt, I don't know if you want to chime in and everything on that. Like, have you ever been in that situation where people tell you like they talking about you behind your back or whatever, but everything's all cool or whatever, but they not telling you that you did something wrong?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Some people, they may struggle with fear of confrontation. And they may not like to address the things that might be on their heart. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes It's not even just it's a fear thing. Well, you can say it's a fear thing, but some people, that's just their coping mechanism. That was the way they grew up in their style of communication, and never was able to voice their opinion and stuff like that, and they can carry certain things over. Now, if I'm speaking for myself, the challenging thing is when you're having grace for somebody because you don't want to be nitpicky, or you're giving people time to, You get what I'm saying?
change
Because, you know, we're
yeah.
elevating and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
But then my question would be, at what point is it like, okay, between the grace and the hard stop?
Right. Right. So that's what I'm saying, right? So we gotta, I guess does it come down to, you know, what's the line here, right? Maybe that thing that person did that bothered you wasn't that deep for you to sit there and address it or bring it up. Understandable, right? But then at the same time, do you bring that up 3-4 months later? Because if it didn't bother you enough or whatever to say something at that time, why bring it up months later to the individual? So here's what I'm saying. Just hear me out, right? What I'm saying is I think that we have to elevate our level of communication with people. I think that we have to, again, you don't have to be nitpicky or anything like that. But what I would recommend and what I would suggest is we have to work on our daily communication skills. So that's number one. Write that down. Work on your daily communication skills with one another. Because if you're working on that every single day, right, and working on, you know, what are the things that kind of frustrate you or bother you, or I didn't really like that you did that. You know what I'm saying? I get it. It sounds nitpicky sometimes or whatever. It may sound kind of silly, but the reality is, would you rather nip it in the bud now or deal with an escalated situation later? So that's what we're dealing with, right? Sometimes or whatever, people don't, especially in relationships, in the beginning of a relationship, you don't want to really ruffle any feathers or whatever, because you're still getting to know the person and things of that nature. But then when you get, you know, several months into it, a year into it, 2 years into it, you kind of like let your hair down and let that person understand where you're coming from and what that frustration is really all about. But I'm trying to help you understand and be mindful of the things that frustrate you the most. Don't be afraid or whatever to let that thing out, because it can get very, very testy, right? You can get to a certain point where you start to blow up because of all the things that's piling up. It's almost like you taking note on every single thing that this individual is doing over and over again, so that the frustration aspect of it becomes like a volcano that's about to explode, versus you pulling back and saying, hey, you know, this is what's bothering me. This is how I feel. I felt like when you did that, this, that, and the third, and then giving that person the opportunity to recognize of what she did or what he did, to say, man, I didn't even realize it like that. I didn't mean to upset you. I didn't mean to hurt you or anything. And you move forward, right? And it doesn't even have to be a long conversation, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever it takes. But you don't want a 5-minute issue to linger to where it turns into days and days of arguments, right? And that happens a lot in relationships. So I wanted to give somebody, you know, just a little bit of recap on that. Focus on your daily communication with one another, right? What are the things that bother you the most, okay? So that person knows, like, dang, like this bothers him, this bothers her. Let me not continue to do that. Now, if that person deliberately continues to do that, then you got to start making some decisions, whether you even want to be with that person or not. That's a totally different conversation there, right? But the fact is that you don't want to continue building up certain levels of frustration, because it can lead to, you know, a hard fall in the end. So make sure that you're communicating or whatever on a daily basis, and don't be afraid to sit there and share what it is that's bothering you, right? Share with the fact what's going on. And the other thing is this, Matt, some people take their frustration from work and then they bring it home, right? Now that's another problem. Sometimes you bringing home something from school or work or whatever it is, and you bringing it into the work, into your home environment where that's supposed to be your place of peace, right? So we got to be mindful of that. We can't sit here and be bringing home what's going on at work into the home space. Let your frustration from work. Now, if you want to talk about it, cool, but don't sit here and lash out and put all the frustration and what's happening at work and bringing it on home. Because that right there, the people at home don't deserve that. If they didn't do nothing wrong, they're not the ones that's working with you every day, right? So I just wanted to kind of chime in and everything on that right there. So communicate, y'all. Simple as that. Communicate. Give yourselves the opportunity to open up. The more dialogue we have, the more understanding we have. The more understanding we have, the better we are as people, the better we are as individuals, the better we understand on how to move forward and go to the next level in our lives. And we ain't got to continue to sit there and go back and linger on the things that are past. Simple as that, right? Boom. So check this out. let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. We going in. So we talked about we talked about frustration in relationships. Now we're talking about frustration in the workplace. Now this is huge, right? Because many people feel that they could be held back at work. They could be held back at work because of the type of position that they're in, right? Or they're not heard. They make a suggestion or something like that, and then whoever made the suggestion, the boss or whatever, may not like the suggestion. Now, there's two sides to this right here, right? Sometimes your suggestion could be super whack, and you get upset because somebody didn't take your idea, right? Secondly, or whatever, it could be that the boss just doesn't want that particular idea for this particular project, and you can get butthurt. You know what I'm saying? You can get super upset, and emotional because you feel like somebody's not hearing you out. There's two sides to the coin here. I wouldn't necessarily press forward and deal with the frustration of, hey, I'm not being heard at work. Why? Am I not good enough? Am I not this? Am I not that? Well, how come you pick her idea over my idea type of thing, right? Sometimes in life or whatever, you just got to understand that idea is not for that season. Sometimes you got to understand that particular idea or whatever is just not for this particular project. It's not a bad idea necessarily, right? It just may not be a good fit for this, but that's no reason or whatever to continue to be upset, right? On the flip side, as a leader, what I would recommend that we do is say, hey, listen, I like that idea. And give some form of explanation to the individual so that they don't feel like they're not wanted or they're not needed or they're not valued. Say, hey, listen, I like that idea, but at the same time, I don't think that particular idea fits this particular project. I think that we can use that idea at a different time. So let's go ahead and put this into the idea box. Let's put it on the shelf right here. And at the right time, we may be able to pull that out or whatever for the right project. To let the person understand, like, it's nothing wrong with what you did. I love that idea. But at the same time, I don't think that is the right move and everything for us in this particular moment. That's what leadership is really all about, right? You got to be able to empathize with your individuals, but also be a get-it-done leader at the same time. You can't necessarily sit here and take on everybody's idea, but also be understanding and empathetic to the ideas that they are trying to put forth for the team, right? Not necessarily shut the idea down without an explanation. So oftentimes in dance, what I used to do is like, yo, I like that, but I don't think we're going to use it right there just yet, right? Hold on to that for me, okay? Because we may need to use it at a later portion in the piece. And therefore, the person is still giving you 1,000% in what they do. They don't feel like I'm not being heard. They feel a part of the team at the end of the day, right? So leaders, understand, we can't sit here and just automatically shut down people just because you're in a higher position. You can't shut down people, whatever, and sit there and say, no, it's my way or the highway, just because you're in the position of leadership. Listen, there's 5 levels to leadership, right? Like John Maxwell said it best. Listen, number 1 is position. People follow you because they have to, right? People follow you because of the position that you're in. The second one is permission, right? People start following you because of the relationship that you build with them, right? The things that you are building together, there's a camaraderie factor and everything in it, and you guys are growing, right? Then number 3, listen, it's production. People follow you because of the results, right? The results of whether that you're producing and the results that they're producing as well too. Number 4, people development, right? What you're developing, you're basically duplicating yourself, right? And you're developing people where they can go ahead and take on that task, and you don't even have to be in the fray. And then number 5 is the pinnacle. They will run through a wall for you, right? I'm telling you right now, if you go up and get these particular steps of leadership, you're going to run a tight ship. You're going to run a ship and everything that's going to take things to the next level inside your organization, inside your family, inside everything that you do. But you got to understand that there's levels to this at the end of the day. Don't be afraid to sit here and, develop these steps. And don't be the guy or the girl or whatever that says, hey, I got this position. You have to listen to me. No, develop relationships with people so that they are able to have your back when the time comes, right? If you're falling, they're going to be there to catch you, right? You want to develop that pinnacle type leadership. You want to develop or whatever that person that people will run through a wall for you no matter what. That's the type of leadership that I'm on, all right? So, Matt, I don't know if you want to chime in on that really quick.
Nah, what you said is good and key right there. It's something I wanted to go back to because I was almost stuck at what you just said. Can you bring back a little bit what you were saying about before your point you just made, you had made another point with all right, I got it. Shutting down ideas, right?
Right, facts.
One thing I learned from a leadership standpoint is that no idea is a bad idea.
Yes.
It's basically what you said, but from the mindset of a leader, it's just a matter of timing. It's just a matter of if I look at it like it's all a puzzle piece. We all working together, but I don't look at it like I'm the one solving the puzzle.
Right.
It's up to me. It's up to me to put the puzzle piece together. So my piece, your piece, that piece, how does it all fit together?
Right.
In other words, we may not be able to put all the puzzle together, but we need the next piece to fit where we are today. But collectively, it all worked together to make the whole puzzle. So it's up to me as a leader to say, well, which piece is connected to this piece for the whole puzzle piece?
I like that.
So no idea is a bad idea. It's just a matter of the timing and what piece fits today.
Facts. When we talk about frustration in the workplace too, right? We also got to understand that people can be bringing frustration into the workplace from home, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's take, for example, I was talking to a colleague of mine the other day, and he was saying, what if somebody is dealing with something at home? How does the Unshakable method work for somebody that's dealing with, their mother, right? Who they love their mom, but their mom is off her rocker a little bit. And this type of frustration or situation could be it's like an uphill battle, and it's affecting the production at work. How does the Unshakable method work for somebody that their mother is constantly in this continuous cycle of things that could be causing a detriment not only to her, but the individual, right? So here's my thing, right? I call this positive development strategies. Now, here's the deal. I'm gonna give y'all this, but at the same time, if you don't work it, it's not gonna work. If you don't actually do it day to day, it ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work for you. So either you're gonna take the advice what I'm about to give and you're gonna apply it, or you're not. So here's the deal. Positive development strategies. Matt, we went over this and everything when we was doing our sessions, right? So check this out. You got on one side of the sheet of paper, you got your mental madness. On the other side of the sheet of paper, you got your positive your positive feelings. Okay. So on one side, what's the mental madness? What are the things that drive you crazy about this particular individual? Could it be that they smoke too much? Could it be that they curse too much? Could it be that they don't have great etiquette? Could it be that they continuously do the same thing over and over again? Maybe they are they're a Debbie Downer. They're always they're putting their depression on you, or whatever the case may be. Okay, all these things drive you crazy about this individual. But on the other side, I want you to write down what are the positive things that this person does. Right? What are those positive feelings that you have about this person? Man, their heart is always in the right place, right? The fact that they will give me the shirt off their back, right? The fact that, they will go to bat for me if everything, if everything hit the fan, they will go to bat for me, whatever the case is, okay? What are some of the positive things about this individual? Because the reality is, no matter who you are, we all have some mental madness and we got some positive feelings. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take those positive feelings and I want you to take those things and I want you to combat the mental madness. You want to pick out of the positive feelings, what thing out of these positive feelings can combat this particular negative. Maybe there are, they keep complaining, right? And that thing drives you crazy. All right, well, what about, the fact that they'll give the shirt off of their back for somebody? How can you take this giving attribute right here, okay, and combat it with the complaining that they're actually doing? Now, you got to apply this right here. You got to have this conversation with this person. And not only that, you're not the only one that sits there and writes it down, but the person that you're dealing with, they got to write it down as well too. This is when you become the coach, okay? This is when you become the coach. This is when you become the mentor. This is when you become the person that helps this particular individual that's driving you nuts, right? That's driving you crazy, okay? So what I want you to do is to take this particular exercise, right? And every couple of months, start to write down that mental madness. Write down those positive feelings. right? And those things that are driving you nuts, that are driving you insane, I need you to really work at this, okay? I really need you to start applying these things, okay? And now what we're doing is we're raising a certain level of awareness, okay? So if this person understands like, yo, I'm always complaining. I'm always doing this. I'm always doing that. Now this person is taking accountability because it's brought to their attention. You know what I need to do? I need to focus on giving more. I will give the shirt off my back to somebody. I will do whatever it is. I will bake an apple pie. I will do this. I will do that for people because that's what I love to do. Those are the positive things. Let me focus a little bit more on giving, and then therefore that's going to combat the complaining aspect of what I do on a day-to-day basis. Focus more on the positive, okay? And stop putting a magnifying glass on these negatives, because that's what we do all the time, right? We always put in a magnifying glass on the things that's negative about a person. Why? Because it's appealing. Why? Because it's the most popular thing to talk about. Why? Because it's not boring or anything like that. Because we like the action. We love the drama. People love the drama in life. But my question is when does that really stop? And where does that really get you? Does drama really get you to another level? No, right? But and yeah, it may be so corny and cliche or whatever. Like, think about it, right? Matt, the most successful Instagram pages, right? You got the shade room, you got this room, you got that room, you got all these blog sites. What do? Gossip, right? What is it? Drama, right? Millions of followers on these pages, on these platforms. But it's so crazy that you get the most positive pages. They don't get nearly as much, as recognition as these other platforms is, because we so busy being in everybody else's business that we forget about our own. Why? Because what you're trying to do is numb your own situation and not focus on what's really important. You're so embedded into what Jeezy doing. You're so embedded into his marriage, or what Jay-Z or what Beyonce doing, and this and the third. And I get it. They're popular. They public figures. I understand, or whatever. People revere them and blah blah blah. I get it. I understand. Your favorite rapper, your favorite singer, songwriter, or they in some drama. Da 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 da. I understand. But the question really becomes is, are we turning that into idolization? Are we turning that into that thing that we really don't want? Because in reality, we put so much focus on it, that's building up even more frustration. Because now you start living your life vicariously or whatever through individuals and things that they got and things that they work for, right? And then you formulate this thing around you where a level of expectation becomes where you want to put that on your spouse or on your family and this and the third. And we do it subconsciously sometimes, right? Because it's kind of like we develop a certain habit. What am I saying? If you've learned to develop a habit into feeding into the gossip, how about you develop a habit in feeding into the positivity of your life? How about you develop a habit of, what do I want to change? How about you develop a habit of, what, I'm going for that next level? How about you develop a habit of, completing this particular milestone? Not the goal. The goal is here, right? But the milestone to get to that goal is right here. I want to focus more into that. Now, I'm not saying that you got to stop looking at this and stop looking at that. You know what I'm saying? Do what you want to do. I won't recommend it or whatever. But the fact is that, hey, you want to be able to change your focus. And if you want to be truly successful in life for whatever success is to you, okay? I'm not the one that's sitting there telling you, oh my God, $10 million. Now you're successful. No, I'm talking about the will of God over your life. That's success right there. So what is will? What is the purpose? Yo, miss me with the gossip. Miss me with the drama, because that's causing more frustration in my life that I don't need. How about I sit there and start focusing on what really matters? How about I focus on my kids more? How about I focus on my wife more? How about I focus on my husband more? How about I focus on my family more? My mom, my dad. How about I focus on these people, right? Because it's an inside work. Matt, we was talking about this, right? It's an inside job, right? If we really want success, everything has to start from an inside perspective, not a surface perspective, okay? You think that this earth got built and everything just from, the outside look? No, this is an internal job here. Inside the earth, there's what we call the core. Without the core, we ain't got nothing, right? So my question is how long are you willing to wait for your life to really turn around? The thing is that you got to start attacking from the inside and not the outside. We always looking from an outside perspective. We always looking at what I look like, what I dress like, what my skin look like, blah, blah, blah. Like we always looking at that. But it's the matters of the heart, y'all. Like it's the matters of the heart. I don't know who this is for. I don't know who needs to hear this right now. But you got to start looking at life from an internal perspective and not an outward perspective. You got to start looking at life and start saying, you know what? I need to change some things that's on the inside of me. I need to change some things for my mother. I need to change things for my father. I need to patch things up or whatever because I need to work on my heart, right? I need to work on my spirit. I need to work on me right now because so many times I get caught up and I get fed into the drama of other people's business and what other people got going on. But at the same time, I'm sitting there trying to do things from an outward standpoint. Everything is an inside job first. You being born was an inside thing first. You didn't just pop up here, right? What happened? When you was in the womb of your mother, that's an inside job. That's an inside work. God was creating you on the inside to then present you to the outside. So how you going to sit here and tell me that everything's from an outward perspective? No, absolutely not. Everything starts from the inside, then out. If we understand that and we learn that and we do that daily, constantly, right? Everything's going to change for you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, financially, right? Everything's going to change because guess what? We working on the inside, right? Boom. Matt, I didn't know if you want to elaborate on that before I move on to the next phase before we shut it down. Go ahead.
I got a couple things to share on that.
Yes, sir.
So, this is a podcast of faith and, we believe that Jesus is one of the greatest leaders,
yes,
right?
sir.
So when we look at his style of leadership, the Bible says that, what is he a leader over? He's a leader over the church.
Over the church.
He's Lord over all.
Amen.
But he's a leader over the church because he expects those people to be an example.
Right.
So when we read in the scriptures, it says that judgment is going to come to the church first. In other words, I'm going to hold the inside to the standard before I begin to hold the outside to a standard to believe in this process.
Yes, sir.
Another thing I like about the leadership of Jesus is, him being God in the flesh, he came and showed what leadership looked like. He didn't just tell us what to do, but he actually showed us how to handle situations. So in other words, is a leader, right? Sometimes I could be high up and been through things so long ago or may not have been through it. And I can give you wisdom and advice on your situation. But if I haven't personally been through it, I'm going to lack compassion.
Yeah.
I'm going to lack different tools to help different people because I'm only going to have a cookie cutter formula. So that's one of the greatest things about Jesus's leadership, that it says he was tempted in every single way. So when we go to him, it's not a cookie cutter answer. Right. You can go to the Lord about a struggle. He'll give us two different ways to go about it. But the solution is him at the end of the day because the compassion that he went through. Last thing I'll say is this. When we're talking about an outside standpoint, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
With the person going to work, right? They might be struggling with their grandmother or outside things, and then they go on the inside. How can we help that kind of person? I would challenge and say as well too, you can create an atmosphere so instead of changing that person, they could come and feel uplifted wherever they go.
There it is.
I'm not going to go to McDonald's when I'm frustrated because the service is going to tick me off. I'm going to go, if I'm down bad in my emotions, I'm going to Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Because I feel valued, I feel appreciated.
Right.
So I get a good meal and I feel loved in that type of way.
That's right. I love that. Changing the atmosphere. We talk about that. Setting the atmosphere for not only you, but the individual and everything as well, too. So I want to make sure that we clear that point. Like if you got an individual in your life and everything that's causing, an extreme burden on your life, there's two things. Number one, you got to set the atmosphere. Number two, right? The Bible says that we are to take on one another's burdens for fulfill Christ's law, Galatians 6:2, right? So take on this individual's burden, but at the same time that you're taking on a burden, you doing something with it, and you setting that atmosphere and you changing that atmosphere. Amen. All right. So I wanted to go to this really quick. All right. When we talk about frustration and faith, there's a lot of people out there right now, Matt, that they struggling, bro. Like they struggling in their faith. They struggling to believe. They struggling to say like, yo, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. It's so much confusion out there going on. And then we get to the technical side. Everybody want to be technical, oh, Jesus' real name is Yeshua, and Yeshua HaMashiach, and in the Ruach HaKodesh, and start and listen, and I understand and I get it. And if you want to go that deep, go that deep. I ain't gonna stop you, right? And then but it's like sometimes we can get so technical, it almost feels like we so close yet so far away, right? Where we start getting so technical, it becomes more of a pharisaical type of mindset. You know what I'm saying? Because it's almost like, like Jesus is really looking for the relationship. You know what I'm saying? He's not saying don't study. Yes, study. You know what I'm saying? But don't forget about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be studying so much that you forget about the relationship with Jesus. Like, that's so crazy. Some people could be studying so much or whatever that you forget about the relationship with him. You forget about spending time with him. You sit there and call yourself or whatever. Yeah, I'm in my word. Yeah, but you in your word or whatever, always trying to prove a point to somebody else or whatever, where it becomes an argument all the time. But the Bible says don't argue with flesh and blood. You know what I'm saying? So how is it the fact that I'm not saying don't be in your word. Yes, be in your word. Yes, study your word. You know what I'm saying? Do that, right? But don't forget about the relationship aspect. You know what I'm saying? And talk to Jesus in such a way that it becomes a real relationship with Christ, and that you are growing together. Because the reality is that you don't want to be the one that studies so much that the light ain't even on. You want to be the one that studies so much and the relationship is so potent that the light remains on and people know where to go, right? Jesus will point people to you because of the light that he's shining in you, because of the relationship that you're building together, right? Check this out. Matthew 11, verse 28 through 30 says this: come to me, all who are weary and burdened, right? Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. So those that are pushing and pushing and pushing, you're looking for, you're looking for Jesus, right? People are looking for Jesus and you're finding frustration, right? And the thing is, let me say this. Some of us are looking for Jesus so much that if you don't stay still, you're going to continue to get lost. But if you stay still, you won't find him. He'll find you, right? If you stay still, you won't find him. He'll find you, right? He's going to give you the rest, because guess what? Us searching and searching and searching, a lot of us are searching in the wrong ways. Now, I'm not saying don't go out and seek, the kingdom first. I seek the kingdom first, but don't miss what I'm saying right here. Seek the kingdom first, in all his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you, right? But I believe that we seek the kingdom when we stay still in his presence, right? Be in his presence. Don't go away from this presence trying to go here, there, because the Bible says that you can't go out and find the kingdom. You can't get on a plane and go to the kingdom. You can't go somewhere and go do it. A lot of us is getting on planes trying to find this and find that, find this remedy, this ritual, and it's causing so much frustration that we are at a point where we give up, right? The enemy wants to put you on a rabbit trail, yo. He wants you to run a rabbit race. He wants you to go out and go ahead and look at this person and that this religion and that religion and blah, blah, blah. He wants you to go on that, because he knows at the same time that those who stay still, Jesus is going to find them, right? Think about it, right? What did Adam do, Matt, right? Like, Adam hid from the Lord. Now, in order to hide from somebody, right, you got to go somewhere. But if he was in the presence, if he was staying where he was supposed to be at, God would be like, yo, what's going on? God wouldn't have said, Adam, where art thou? Where are you? You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't have said that. He would have just showed right up, because he knew exactly where he was supposed to be. So in other words, he left the presence of God because he was ashamed of what he did. So a lot of us are ashamed of what we do, and we leave the presence of God, and then we sit there and say, God, where are you? Where are you? Yo, he been in the same spot. Question is, where are you? Right? Where are you? So the frustration that I'm saying or whatever that we deal with is We get tired and we get weary, right? But right here it says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. It says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. We keep taking on burdens that we don't need to. We keep taking on these heavy burdens and we don't have to. God's burden is light compared to the burdens that we taking on for ourselves, because we can't do it by ourselves. There's no way that we could. If we could, then we would be God, but we're not. So stop putting so much pressure, on yourself, and focus on what it is that God has for us. Now, I'm not saying now God's light and our light is two different types of light. It still may be heavy in a sense, right? But at the same time, he's not going to give us more than what we can handle. Matt, I'll toss it to you real quick.
Nah, that's good. The way you see people is very crucial, right?
Yeah.
Because Adam ran from God, right? But I started to think like, well, why did he run from God? See, at that time, he just was created. But see, that's why relationship is so important, because relationship, you fully knowing somebody only comes by relationship. What is the first thing he told Adam to do? He said, I want you to be fruitful, multiply. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. So in his mind, he probably just see God from a boss standpoint, not that relational, like one who tell me what to do. So if my boss tell me to do something, I'm supposed to fulfill this task and I mess up, I might begin to avoid them out of my fear.
Facts.
Not answer their calls, run until I could get it done. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
But when you're in a relationship with somebody, like, well, that person is gracious. He's not like other people. And the thing with the Lord is you will only fully get to know him through a relationship, because we compare our relationship with him through other people.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's not like other people.
Right. I love it.
He's not like other people.
Absolutely.
So, because I was going to say, I'm sorry, just throw this out there.
Yep.
If you're afraid to tell people what they did wrong or share how you feel and things like that, right? And that's normally how your relationships is.
Right.
Is no way you just gonna not do that with the Lord. It's a relationship. So you're gonna treat him the same way you treat other people until you get to know him and realize, oh shoot, he not like other people.
Right.
He actually listens to me and hear what I have to say.
Amen.
He don't judge me harshly. But before you develop that, you're gonna be afraid to respond like you are with everybody else, because everybody respond the same way to you.
That's it, man. That's it. I don't know who this is for, yo, but sometimes in life, we allow frustration to take over when we don't have to. We allow frustration to be the catalyst of our life, and we don't have to, and we shouldn't. So for you that's out there right now, for the mother that's struggling, for the father that's struggling, for the relationship that's struggling, for the marriage that's struggling, for those kids that are struggling right now, because even in kids, your frustration is hard for you to even communicate your frustration in certain ways that you feel that your parents may not even understand you. I want you to really, really, really take a full look at yourself in the mirror. And I want you to really take a step back and say, I am who God says I am, not who the world says I am. And I don't have to be frustrated because I know how to communicate. I don't have to be frustrated because I know where I stand. I don't have to be frustrated because I have a certain level of empathy to understand. Seeking to understand before seeking to be understood is the key. So I don't have to be frustrated. Listen, y'all too good. Listen, you too good of a person. You too good to, you've come, matter of fact, no, you've come too far, right, to truly give up right now. You've gone through 100% of your bad days. I know y'all heard that quote before. Some of y'all, listen, you've made it through 100% of your bad days. You made it through, right? You made it through. So some of y'all that are struggling in the aspect of relationships, yo, you could work that thing out. You can sit here and start developing your communication. You could really communicate and over communicate as much as possible so that you got clarity. Sometimes we don't communicate at all, and that's why there's no clarity, and that's why our relationships fall. But if you raise the level of expectation of your communication, right, then therefore you're not going to really have those types of issues. Over communicate if you have to. So much so, whatever, that it may become annoying, but at least you got clarity. Which one would you rather have, frustration or the clarity at the end of the day? Secondly, that workplace environment, change the atmosphere. You got frustration and everything with your mom. You got addiction issues. You got things or whatever that you think that's going to be making you cope. The things that's going to sit there and numb the pain and numb the things that's happening in your life. Listen, number one, you're going to have to man up, woman up to go ahead and face that thing. You're going to have to really sit there and look that thing in the face and say, listen, no more. I'm done with you. I'm done with the alcohol. I'm done with the drugs. I'm done with the women. I'm done with all of this nonsense and everything. And I'm going to face my particular situation and my challenges head on. Because guess what? The fact is that, those particular addictions that you may be facing or the issues that you got with other people that you may be facing ain't going to go away until you start facing them and start changing the atmosphere yourself. Remember, when we change the mind, we change the game. And lastly, those who are struggling in that faith aspect. If you truly, truly open your heart and say, listen, I really want to develop a relationship with God, like a real relationship with God. Don't do it or whatever on, I'm just doing it just to be doing it. No, you got to come in with an open heart, with an open mind. And you got to come to God like a child, because you don't know it all. The fact is that a lot of people out there may feel like they do. You got people, CEOs, executives and everything out there that feel like they know everything, right? They feel like they know it all, that, hey, listen, I've made it to this level. I know it all. There's nothing that you can show me. There's nothing that you could do to sit there and tell me different. I know everything. Let me tell you something, yo. You may be 55 years old, but you ain't never been 65. It's a different level. And just because you're 65 don't mean that you know everything either, because guess what? You could be 65 and have very little experience in a certain area and so much more to learn. However, if you're 55 and you're sitting there saying that you know everything, but you ain't never been 56 before at your level. You ain't never been 57 before at your level. You ain't never been 58 before at your level, because guess what? In the next 36 months, things are going to change in your life. So how can you sit there and say that you know it all? The second that you think that you know it all and that you can't learn anything at all, that's when it's over. That's when it's done. No matter what level that you're at. I don't care if you're a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, it doesn't matter. This world will continue to evolve, and there's always going to be something more to learn for you to get to that next level in your life. There are certain aspects or whatever, even in your family life, that you have not exceeded. You're maybe great at work in your career and what you do, but you're not great of a family man. If I was to sit there and put a wheel of life on you and say, okay, finances, emotions, mental, health, spirituality, right? Social aspect, okay? Family. And you can sit there and rank them 1 to 10 on where you're at. I guarantee you, your wheel ain't going to be perfect. You're going to be lacking in something where you need to focus a little bit more on to elevate that and get to another level. So how do you do that? You do that with coaching. You do that with daily practices, practical things or whatever that can help you, right? But you got to go out and get that work, okay? But we cannot sit here and think that we know it all, because we don't. We're always learning. We should never stop learning. We should always continue to go to that next level, because there's always more. It's always going to be another level. I know some of y'all ain't really want to hear that, but it's the truth, okay? I'm about to be 40. I'm excited for what 40 is going to bring for me in my life. It's not going to be the same as 39. It's not going to be the same as 35, because that was a different level. So I'm open to that, and I'm looking to learn more. My name is Kennith Allen Thomas, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this Unshakable Conversation. Listen, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Listen, when we change the mind, we change the game. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow worry about itself, and today is all we got. And today is all we got. You make sure you impact today the best way you know how. And if you want the Unshakable Method, go to KennethAllenThomas.com, click on the link below, all right? And you go ahead and get into my Unshakable Method program. I love y'all. Check y'all later. Peace.
You are now listening to another
Unshakable Conversation
with Kenneth Allen Thomas.